Morning, Lassie. Good morning, Chuck. Good morning, chicken. So it's October 13th, 2023. It's Friday the 13th. This is Andrew at Omaha. And I'm working on this holster for this Taurus 9mm handgun with a tack light on it. I've never made one before. My favorite leather so far to use is Wickett and Craig English bridle leather. It's vegetable tan, same as the tooling leather. I also like their harness leather. That stuff's great, but they when they're tanning it, they tan it with all these oils and waxes and tallows and all this stuff. And here's a little small piece of it, and it feels soft and supple, and it splits great, it sews great, and since it's vegetable tanned, it'll still wet form for holsters. And I started making some holsters out of it, and the experience was so much more enjoyable. This is the holster that I initially started making for this build. I made a huge screw up in it. I was absent-minded and put a hole where it didn't need to be, and I basically had to hit the brakes and start all over. But this holster here, I started, and it is made out of Wickett and Craig English Bridle. Here's another one. This is I believe this is the chestnut color, and this is for a Glock 43. And this is just a single layer on each side. And I think this one turned out pretty good. I've worn this personally out on the street with my own weapon, and it works really well. I also have another one here. This is their tan color. You can kind of see a little bit better how it kind of holds the form of the gun. I made these maybe last year, and when you order it, I ordered this 4 to 5 ounce. That's what this is. And when you get it from the tannery, it has this really nice finish on the inside of the leather, and I think it works really well for firearms. The big thing is you don't want to have a holster that's going to scratch up the weapon or anything like that, and it also holds the weapon in the holster really well. And you know, the way they finish the rough side of their English bridle leather is really nice. This one here is 2-layer. I like to, if I'm going to line it, I'm just going to line it with another piece of leather. Some people like to use suede and stuff like that, and that's fine. But if I'm going to put a liner in, it's just the style that I like. So, but you can get this Wickett and Craig English Bridle off their website, Wickett and Craig. I don't know, it's wickettandcraig.com or what it is. But it's one of the few tanneries where you can just order one hide, and they also will split it down for no extra cost. They do ship it as freight, so it's a little more expensive to ship, but they also offer a sales flyer maybe every month or two, and they have basically hides in there that might have a brand on them or something that doesn't meet their standards for some reason, and they put them on sale, and you can pick up a hide for like $150. And the way things have been going, especially in this post 2020 economy, you know, being able to get a whole hide of vegetable tanned English bridle leather for $150 or around that neighborhood is a very good deal. So highly recommend it, and it's kind of fired me up to want to start making holsters again. The people I've made them for really seem to like them. I think they just look really good, and I don't have to put any finishes or anything on this. You know, I don't have any Resolene on here. I don't have any tan coat. I don't have any olive oil. neat's foot oil, anything, just because the way it comes from the tannery with all those oils and waxes already tanned into it, it's already the color it needs to be, so you don't have to dye it or anything like that, and it just looks so good. So all right, here I am sticking the two main pieces together that I'm going to stitch together for the main body of the holster. I'm using Wellwood contact adhesive, and you can get this stuff anywhere at just about any hardware store. It's in that red and black can in the background there. And I really like this stuff. I like it even more than barge cement, and I think that's what I'm going to be sticking with. But this is the first attempt on this holster. Like I said, I made a mistake on this one where I don't know what I was thinking, but I punched a hole where I shouldn't have punched it, and that's it. And I had to start over. But just using my little Harbor Freight belt sander to even out the edges. I've learned from prior projects to always have the edges sanded and evened out before you stitch anything together, because when you try to stitch together and then go back and try to sand it down to even things out, I always run the sander right into the stitching, and it just ends up ruining the project, and I got to start all over again. So, but that's how you learn. I like to use this craft tool, fine edger. It just kind of cuts the little edge that the sander left behind off. And I also have a number 1 and a I have a number 2 and a number 3 edge bevelers, but I rarely ever use them. This is my go-to. I really like it, and they sell these at Tandy. I don't know, what are they, like $15 or something like that. Works really well. As far as this video is concerned in making these holsters, this is not a how-to. All it is me showing you how I put things together. I'm sure there's experts out there that have much better ways of doing things, but like I said, this is the first time I've ever made one of these in the waistband holsters, and I'm kind of like building the airplane while I'm flying it. Just trying to figure this out as I go, and I'm kind of bringing you along for the ride. Now this is going to be the new holster after I started over. It's done in the with the chestnut color, I believe is what this one's called. And I'm putting my stitch groove lines in. I just have 2 little Tandy stitch groovers. I've had them for years. They work just fine. And I'm also going to mark where the keepers are going to attach to the holster. I'm pretty happy so far. I've slicked up the edges, and now I'm going to be using a Cobra Class 3 harness stitcher from the Leather Machine Company. And this machine is a cylinder bed machine, and it's designed to stitch thick pieces of leather, and it works really well. It's really smooth. I really like it. I'm going around and getting the edges that are not going to be stuck together with glue stitched up, as well as the parts of the keepers that are not going to be stitched directly to the holster. These are the parts of the keepers that have to be left loose so they can wrap around the wearer's belt, and then they'll have little snaps at the end to keep it in place. When this stitching is completed, I'm going to go back and use some 2-sided sticky tape to help hold the keepers in place before I stitch it to the body of the holster. I'm also going to put the bottom part of the snaps on the keepers. At this point, I've already put the snaps on. I didn't get footage of that, but that way the back of these snaps are sandwiched between the leather, and they will not rub up against the firearm when it's inside the holster there. But that'll just hold it in place enough So I can come in here and stitch it down, and like this machine is so smooth and so versatile. It's able to walk around this keeper even though the foot can't sit completely level on the workpiece. It can walk around, walk up and over portions of it, and it's just a really good design. Now I'm putting some glue on the inside of the holster on the portions that are going to be stuck together. Again, I'm using the Wellwood, and the glue pot comes from Weaver Leather. It's a really good glue pot. I really like it. I'm going to stick the pieces together, and then I'll get them tapped down, and then I'm going to use a small clamp with 2 pieces of scrap leather on either side, so it'll hold it together, and then I'll let that dry overnight before I come back in and stitch it. I do all my gluing out in the garage just because the fumes from the Wellwood is very strong and it would end up stinking up the whole house. I'll just hit the ends that I just glued together with the belt sander. Then I'm going to knock the edges off with the edge beveler, and then I'll start burnishing the edge here. I'll start out with some 220 to start off the burnishing process. Then I'll come back with 400 grit paper, and I'll wet sand it down. I just put a little touch of water on the edge, then come back in with the sandpaper, and this Wickett and Craig slicks up really fast. So it doesn't take a whole lot of elbow grease to get a good burnished edge with this leather. Once I'm done with the sandpaper, I'm going to kind of jump back and forth between using the side of the edge beveler handle and a piece of canvas cloth and some of the token oil burnishing compound. And I just kind of keep going back and forth until I have the edge slicked up the way I like it. Now it's time to start the wet forming process. I know I made a video about the tooling leather, how when you try to wet form it and you have any type of metal like these snaps here in it, it'll discolor the leather, it'll turn it black around the snap. I've not had that problem with this English bridle leather, which is really nice. So since I don't have a blue gun for this particular weapon, I'm going to have to use it to do the wet forming. So I've wrapped it twice with 2 layers of plastic wrap, and then I'm just going to use some elbow grease to get it into the holster. I definitely needed to put just a little bit more leeway on the stitching on the end here. It was really snug and it took a while to get it to form up. But now that the holster's formed, I'm going to put the snaps on the other end of the keepers. And once that's done, this holster is pretty much finished. These are the keepers. The holster rides on the inside of somebody's pants waistline, and then these keepers reach outside and wrap around the wearer's belt. So again, it's for a Taurus 9mm with a tack light, and I'm going to call this project finished. So I hope you all have a nice day. This is Andrew in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'll talk to you later.